Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you all. Alhamdulillah for the privilege and gift of life. We say welcome to this edition of Answering Christian Apologists. This is the section where we answer the critique of the Christians as regard the authenticity of the Quran being a revelation from the Most High God, and Islam being the religion the Most High God established for mankind in generality. Today we'll be answering the critique of the Christians as regard the authenticity of the Quran itself as a revelation. It has been realized that the issues the Christians has with the Quran is not because the Quran is a revelation that was written or revealed in Arabic language. Neither was it because the Prophet of Islam is of Arab descent. But it has been realized that outside this, the Christians have gotten issues with the Quran because, foremostly, the Quran has refused to recognize the beliefs of the Christians being a revelation that came several years or several centuries after the Christians had been established. The beliefs of the Christians are not that much, and it includes the doctrine of baptism, which requires that anyone that wants to serve God be baptized, as the Christians claim that Jesus established it for them after his alleged death and resurrection, as recorded in the Gospel account of Matthew chapter 28. So the Christians believe anyone that wants to serve God should be baptized, because that is the instruction that Jesus gave them. So it's part of their doctrine that you have to be baptized in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And after that, you will receive the baptism of the Holy Spirit. But as at the 7th century, when the Quran was being revealed, the Quran never mentioned anything of such. And as that, the Christians became hostile against the Quran. Not only baptism, the doctrine of the Christians also include Holy Communion. After being welcomed into the fold of Christianity and the person is baptized, maybe the person received the baptism of the Holy Spirit or not, it becomes binding on the person, the new convert, to be a partaker of the Holy Communion. Because the Christians also preach that Jesus established the Holy Communion for them as part of the doctrines that they should uphold, being Christians. So they said in the Gospel account of Matthew chapter 26, verse 26 and 27, Jesus gave them wine and bread as a signifier of his body and blood, saying that is the new covenant on which the Christian practices should be based. And the Christians always argue that even Jesus instructs them to do that in his remembrance. So how will the Quran come some few centuries later and just rule all that off without even mentioning it, without even recognizing it? So that is true. The third thing the Quran did not recognize as regard the doctrine and the practices of the Christians is the Sunday church. The Christians, after the early apostles passed on, became integrated into the Roman Empire, and something that was called the National Sunday Law was passed and enacted. So the day of rest that has been on Saturdays before was changed to Sundays. So as at the recitation of the Quran in the 7th century, the Quran never mentioned nor recognized the gathering of the Christians on Sundays. Instead, the Quran rather talked about the day of rest to still be the Sabbath. The Sabbath, which is Saturday, Sabbath for 7, because the 7th day is the day of rest. So the Quran still recognizes Saturday, the Sabbath that was kept by the ancient Israelites, as the day of rest, without even mentioning the gathering of the Christians on Sunday. So the fourth doctrine that the Quran did not recognize is the doctrine of fasting. The Christians believe staying away from food and water for the purpose of seeking God is something that enhances spiritual growth. So the Christians established a system of fasting for themselves, which is what is well known in the Jewish tradition, that fasting is from even till even. So which simply means if I'm to engage in a fast today, I don't have the privilege to eat after 12 midnight, but I can eat before 12. But the moment it's 12 in the night, I don't have the privilege to take anything again until when night falls this evening, that I'll be eating. But at the revelation of the Quran gave a totally strange privilege to the believers by giving them permission to eat all through the night while they fast during the day, which simply means the Christians have a longer fasting duration than what the Quran established. The Quran established a fast duration of like mostly 12 hours during the daylight, except where the timing varies based on the geographical location on the planet Earth, because there are some people that have been realized to fast for as long as 21 hours in a day based on their location on the map. So the Christians believe, how could a revelation that gave privilege of eating all through the night, even as eating as the early part of the morning, around 4 o'clock, 4 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m. in the morning, is not yet done, that is referred to as Fajr in the Quran. So the adherent of Islam can still eat before the fast begin at daybreak. That is when it's the Fajr and the daylight became very apparent. So the Christians were thinking, how could a revelation of God come and give this kind of privilege, that such an act is not fast? How will you say you want to fast and still eat at the early part of the day before you commence the fast? Because they believe piety should be something that is strict. And the last thing the Quran refused to recognize as regard the Christians is their marriage principle, the standards or the status they established for themselves as regard marriage. As taught by Apostle Paul, the Christians believe it is better and more spiritual to be single, because being single gives you focus and more spiritual insights to walk with God than being married. So the Christians see those that are not married for the sake of the faith as being spiritually higher, and by such they accord respect to them because they believe they have no distractions in seeking the face of God. Because according to the gospel account in the book of Matthew, it was said that even Jesus encouraged being Enoch, because Jesus said there were some that were born as Enochs, there were some that people made Enochs, while there were some that made themselves Enoch for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. So the Christians believe making oneself an Enoch for the sake of the kingdom of heaven is spiritually higher than those that get married. And now, when the Quran was being recited, the Quran gave a lot of privileges to the believers, ranging from marrying multiple wives to even having concubines. So the Christians were like, definitely this can't be a revelation from God, because the Christians have seen their doctrine as something that makes them very pious and closer to God. And the Christians have raised their standard of relationship with God to such heights that they believe any revelation that is to come should be something that should require them to want to do more, not something that will be below their standard of righteousness. And then that thing will not even recognize them. So this is one of the major issues the Christian apologists have against the Quran. And there are still other several issues, but God willing, we continue from here the next time. We say Salam Alaikum to everybody. And Alhamdulillah for the success of this edition. Thank you. Stay blessed.